If you are a gay man seeking growth and healing, books can be a great way to jumpstart the process. Today, we're going to explore 10 books I believe can help you on your journey. The first book on my list is The Velvet Rage by Alan Downs. With each book, I'm going to start with one of my favorite quotes, and here's one from The Velvet Rage. Something about growing up gay forced us to learn how to hide ugly realities behind a finely crafted facade. Why is this so? We hid because we learned that hiding is a means to survival. Even as an out and proud gay man, I felt like I was often living a life of subterfuge. Only then, it wasn't my sexuality that I was hiding, but my vulnerability. Turns out, I'm not the only one who has struggled with self-loathing and shame. Many gay men have in fact been damaged by their experiences. This damage makes it difficult for us to build and sustain relationships. It also may drive us to seek relief through substance and process addictions. The Velvet Rage charts the stages we go through in the course of recovery. It also offers a raft of suggestions on how we can fast-track our healing. Book number 2 is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. Vulnerability is not weakness, and the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure we face every day are not optional. Our only choice is a question of engagement. Our willingness to own and engage with our own vulnerability determines the depth of our courage and the clarity of our purpose. When I came out as gay, I was searching for connection and a sense of belonging. Feeling like I'd lost my birth family, I embarked on a quest to find a new one. This led me to gay bars and clubs, where I quickly learned that it was sex, not true intimacy, that many were chasing. While these individuals might have claimed they accepted themselves, they seemed terrified by vulnerability. Their lack of willingness to face their shame meant their relationships often stayed superficial. I remember trying to be emotionally authentic with these people, and my efforts were often met with bewilderment, if not scorn. To be vulnerable was dangerous, as it conjured fear and feelings of unworthiness. Author Brené Brown argues that this doesn't have to be our fate. Her solution is to recognize shame for what it is and to understand its triggers. We should try to be aware, but we should also be willing to reach out to others and to share our experiences of shame. Book number 3 is The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Traumatized people are terrified to feel deeply. They are afraid to experience their emotions because emotions lead to loss of control. Being traumatized is not just an issue of being stuck in the past. It is just as much a problem of not being fully alive in the present. When I was 12, my family began to fall apart. My older brother's daily battles with my parents reduced our household to a war zone. My parents eventually buckled under the strain of it all. In the end, my brother was given free rein to bully anyone he chose, and I happened to be one of his targets. Trauma used to be a word I exclusively associated with veterans or victims of extreme abuse, but I've since learned that trauma can be passive, such as emotional neglect. As a trauma survivor, I know this can be an all too common experience for gay men. Consider, for example, how we are marginalized, excluded, harassed, and even physically assaulted over our sexuality. Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score is a deep dive into the causes and symptoms of trauma. The book validates the many painful experiences we've had. It also offers insights into the steps we can take to remedy our wounds. Book number 4 is Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. An optimistic explanatory style stops helplessness, whereas a pessimistic explanatory style spreads helplessness. Your way of explaining events to yourself determines how helpless you can become or how energized when you encounter the everyday setbacks as well as momentous defeats. While my family was falling apart, I was also being targeted by bullies at school. I believe this was largely because of my then undiagnosed disability, Asperger's syndrome. My resulting depression and anxiety led me to develop a pessimistic explanatory style. When I faced difficulties, I often fell to blaming myself. I tell myself that I was unlovable and that I deserved exactly what I got. And this came at a great cost to my mental health. Learned optimism argues that we can correct such perceptions by looking at the links between three elements. These elements are the adversity we've experienced, the existing beliefs they trigger, and their consequences. By disputing these beliefs, we can alter their impact on both our attitude and our outlook. Book number 5 is Self-Compassion by Kristin Neff. Self-compassion provides an island of calm, a refuge from the stormy seas of endless positive and negative self-judgment, so that we can finally stop asking, am I as good as they are? Am I good enough? The difficult home environment I've described led me to take up workaholism. I spent most of my school years at my desk studying. This habit continued into my adulthood, with various projects taking the place of study. Rather than soothing myself during times of stress or suffering, I ended up burying myself even deeper in work. Author Kristin Neff proposes self-compassion as a way to repair the damage. The first step, according to her, is to adopt a mindfulness practice. Only by learning to be aware of our emotional states can we break unhealthy habits and replace criticism with compassion. Book number 6 is Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. Believing that your qualities are carved in stone, the fixed mindset, creates an urgency to prove yourself over and over. Every situation is evaluated. Will I succeed or fail? Will I look smart or dumb? Will I be accepted or rejected? Will I feel like a winner or a loser? Trauma can lead us to develop a fixed mindset, which is characterized by a fear of failure and imperfection. Someone with a fixed mindset will seek success rather than growth, superiority rather than self-acceptance. Author Carol S. Dweck notes the challenge with this mindset. If you're somebody when you're successful, what are you when you're unsuccessful? The fall from such heights can be devastating. The opposite of a fixed mindset is a growth mindset. With a growth mindset, we don't judge ourselves or others, and we are more likely to seek personal change and development. The good news is we don't have to be born with a growth mindset to enjoy the benefits. We can learn to adopt one through practice. Book number 7 is Boundaries by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Setting boundaries inevitably involves taking responsibility for your choices. You are the one who makes them. You are the one who must live with their consequences. Boundaries are crucial for all gay men. Why? Because how we choose to live is a right that often faces the scrutiny and judgment of others. Take, for example, the fact that many of us enjoy close relationships with our mothers, sometimes a little too close for our well-being. I remember that after I moved out of my family home, my relationship with my mother was pretty rocky on the account of us having messy boundaries. Once I decided to go get a mini mohawk, and this is when I still had hair, which was a long time ago, to be honest. Suffice to say, this earned me the silent treatment. And when I decided to also pierce my ears, my mother began nagging me to take them out. Giving in to my mom's demands might have soothed her desire to be in control, but it also ran counter to my independence. Negotiating boundaries with people like our parents can be a thorny process, but it is crucial to the health of our relationships. This book does contain a number of biblical references, which might be somewhat off-putting to non-religious readers. But if you can look past this, Henry Cloud and John Townsend's classic remains a vital guide to establishing stronger relationships, not just with others, but with ourselves. Book number 8 is Attached by Amir, Levine, and Rachel Heller. People have very different capacities for intimacy, and when one person's need for closeness is met with another person's need for independence and distance, a lot of unhappiness ensues. Many of my previous dating experiences have been this uneven game of push and pull, a mismatch of varying needs and expectations. It was only when I came upon the concept of attachment that the cause of this problem was finally brought into focus. Our relationships with our primary caregivers from childhood onwards form the basis for how we attach to others. Attachment falls into 3 categories: secure, anxious, or avoidant. Anxious people seek closeness and affirmation, whereas avoidants seek distance and independence. And secures are exactly that. They typically have no difficulty where it comes to bonding with either of the other types. This may sound a little formulaic, but according to Amir, Levine, and Rachel Heller, knowing our own and our partner's attachment styles can go a long way to sparing us unnecessary heartache down the road. Book number 9 is Full Catastrophe Living by Kabat-Zinn. Mindfulness is moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness. It is cultivated by purposefully paying attention to things we ordinarily never give a moment's thought to. It is a systematic approach to developing new kinds of agency, control, and wisdom in our lives, based on our inner capacity for paying attention and on the awareness, insight, and compassion that naturally arise from paying attention in specific ways. In Full Catastrophe Living, author Kabat-Zinn explains that while stress may be an unavoidable feature of life, how to deal with it or not deal with it is ultimately our choice. In my case, the trauma I experienced growing up was often triggered by later conflicts. This would result in a fight or flight response that could be destructive to my relationships. Through mindfulness, I learned I could reprogram my brain to not always judge and to react. Breath work and meditation can help us to be present with our experience. They can teach us to be more aware of our feelings rather than simply controlled by them. Book number 10 is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. People with well-developed emotional skills are also more likely to be content and effective in their lives, mastering the habits of mind that foster their own productivity. People who cannot marshal some control over their emotional life fight inner battles that sabotage their ability for focused work and clear thought. If you've been listening up to this point, you will already be familiar with some of the skills that make up emotional intelligence. I've mentioned self-awareness, which involves knowing one's own emotions, and I've also mentioned self-compassion, which helps us to manage those emotions. Goleman mentions other skills such as self-motivation, empathy, and relationship management. He describes emotional intelligence as a meta-ability that governs how successful we are in all aspects of our lives, from relationships to our well-being, to personal effectiveness and productivity. This book contains a lot of theoretical discussions, which may not be relevant to all readers. Nevertheless, this book is an essential read for all gay men seeking self-improvement. And those are my top 10 picks. I have many more that I want to recommend, but enough from me. I'd like to hear from you. What books have you found helpful? Drop them in the comment section, and I'll do my best to include them in future videos. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.